or at least your information was being sent out.
Yeah.
So we made sure that we sent a couple constant contact emails out notifying residents that these were scams. And other statistics were accidents and injuries were up by 200%, alarms 60% decrease, and medical assist was a 42% decrease.
The accidents and injuries, are those pretty small numbers? Is that why that percentage is so large?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The only other thing I can tell you is that thank you to the board for allowing us to purchase the new radar speed trailer. It's been ordered and is expected to ship about mid-October. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Bruce. Any questions, anyone? Need a motion to accept the reports?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Reports are accepted. All right, let's move on to our new business, item 8A. A request from Winster Fax to fill the landscape maintenance position with Stephen Ralph. Lane, are you on with us?
John, she is, but for some reason, there's no way to unmute her, mute her, or anything.
Okay.
I don't know how she's on the call.
All right. This looks.
Susan Pickles here. She can do that.
Sorry, say that again.
Susan is here. She can handle that.
Okay. Is this just a fairly straightforward replacement?
Yes, absolutely. We just need to add, we didn't have a landscape maintenance coordinator, and he has submitted an SOI, and they would like to ask the board for approval to put him on committee.
Okay. This is not an increase in the size of the committee?
No, they had a vacancy. This is just filling a position that was vacant.
Bruce, can you hear me? It's Mark McCullough.
Yes.
Just to step in Lane's inability to be unmuted. Just speaking to Stephen, he has background in agriculture. He's a recent resident improving on his home. He'll be a great asset and welcome addition to our Plex committee.
Thank you, Mark. All right. Any discussion on the board from the board? Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes carry. Let's move on to item 8B under new business. Winster Fax again, request to approve a schedule change from 2023 to this year for the replacement of the tennis court fence and approval of a contract with Rosenbaum Fence Company in the amount of $18,184 to replace the fence plus $5,000 to replace the tennis court sidewalk for a total of $23,184. This is on pages 17 to 19 of your board packet. Anyone from Winster Fax or Susan, anybody want to speak to this?
I could speak to it. It's Mark McCullough again. The spirit of the move to more recent timing is we felt that we have a healthy financial situation. The tennis court fence is quite in disrepair, and we believe that moving that cycle closer in would be advantageous both as a financial position and also an improvement to the community.
Thank you, Mark. Ron, anything from a financial point of view you want to tell us?
No, as Mark said, the money is in OER and can be brought, or it should MM&R, and can be brought forward to be spent.
Okay, any other board member, any questions, any discussion? All right, need a motion to approve.
So move.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes carried. All right, let's move to item 8C. Lifestyle Committee request to appoint Mary Ann Sleece as the chair. Sheila, are you with us? Any discussion on this?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Sally Wyatt has stepped down from chair. She is remaining on the Lifestyle Committee, and Mary Sleece as vice president has moved up, or vice chair has moved up to chair. We're excited to have her.
Okay, any questions, anyone? All right, need a motion to approve.
So move.
Need a second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes carry. All right. Next item, item 8D. Harrops Glen request to appoint Linda Cardamone as secretary to replace Lynn Clemens. Appears to be fairly straightforward appointment here. Any questions or discussion from the board?
Mike Kettering is with us if he wants to speak on that.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, as you said. Lynn Clemens has been great, but her job situation changed. Linda Cardamone has volunteered to serve in her place, and she has the only statement of interest that's been submitted.
All right, great. Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion from the board? All right, need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes carried. All right, move on to item 8E. Appointment of Dave McGinnis as Public Safety Commissioner until the next election period. 3 in your materials. Ed, do you have anything you want to say about this?
No, Dave has been vice chair for about a year and a half now, and he's a great candidate to manage the Public Safety Committee.
Right, and this will be, as we've discussed, until the next election period. So that runs through December 31 of 2020.
Correct.
Okay. So then we'll have to come back in December and either reappoint or appoint a new person. All right, any discussion, any questions from the board? Need a motion to approve?
So move.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes carried. Item 8F, Budget and Finance Committee request to add John Williams as a new member, page 24 of your agenda materials. I know, John, he'll be a fantastic addition to the Finance Committee. Ron, anything you want to talk to say?
Oh, John's been, he's been looking us over, and we like him and he likes us, so we want to add him to the committee.
John, we lose you?
Must have lost John.
All right, Bruce, go ahead and take over.
All right, I'll go ahead until we find John Hudson again. I'll go ahead and, well, now that he's closed that agenda, the next item on the list is the agenda is the Public Works request to approve the contract with ECS.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up to the approval of John Williams as a committee member. Is it, Ron, you want to make that motion?
I move that John Williams be added to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Okay, now the next item on the agenda is the contract with the Public Works contract to approve ECS in the amount of $8,096 for the Kings Mill full depth reclamation job mix formula for Burwell Woods and Burwell's Glen. Susan is with us and she's going to talk on that real quick.
Okay, as y'all recall, last month's, or actually, yeah, it was at last month's meeting, we talked about having to kind of stop the project in Burwell's Woods and Burwell's Glen because there was a soil problem with 5 of those roads in there. There was lots of pumping when the trucks were going over it, so we had to stabilize the soil. Well, we since went out and got a couple contracts from paving contractors that do a full depth reclamation. And both of those contracts came back that they would like to be provided a job mix formula. So we went to our engineer that was on the project that we hired for the project for the paving and had a meeting with him and asked him to come back and give us a proposal to be able to give us that job mix formula so we can provide that to the FDR companies. And so this is the price that came back. They're going to collect, I believe, 8 core samples, and then they're going to put different cement types with the soil. And because the bids came back with a certain percentage of Portland cement, well, because we have a lot of clay in our soil, it might need some lime or calcium. So this kind of come back and tell us what our job mix formula should be in order to get the PSI we're looking for to stabilize the roads. So we're looking at $8,069. It's going to take about 4 weeks because they have to collect the samples, they have to send them off, get them analyzed, put your mixture, cement mixture in with it. It's got to cure for 7 days, and then they do their testing on that. So we're looking at about 4 weeks. So that would be the earliest we could get back into Burwell's Glen and Burwell's Woods.
So Susan, this is Ed Connors. I have a question, not being an engineer. The way I read this and the way you explained it, it's obviously a complicated process, but ultimately they're coming up with a formula. Is that the way you would think about it? They're coming up with a formula that will be applied to the work itself.
Yes, they're coming up with a formula. It's like a cement formula that, because of the soils, they need that that formula to mix in with the soil to make sure we get the proper stabilization that's needed. EDOT has a standard of they have to meet at least 250 PSI, and this going through ECS, they're going to be able to test the core samples, but yet right now we're at a pretty high cement mixture in our bids. It could possibly be lower than that. We're at 6%. We might be able to go to a 5% or 4%, or we might have to go to a cal cement or lime versus the Portland cement. So they're to do the testing to make sure that it meets VDOT standards with kind of the lowest we can get through to meet that standard, rather than going.
We're pretty sure that the ultimate contractors will accept this formula.
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what they're looking for. They're looking for an engineer to give them the job mix formula. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know if you know, but I'm back. Susan, anything else you want to tell us about this?
No, I think you missed everything.
I probably did. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, so I'm gonna just leave the rest of the slides down. That seems to be part of the problem here. Okay, any other questions or discussion from the board members?
Susan, do we, is it really necessary for us to meet the VDOT standard on a neighborhood road like this?
The short answer, Ron, is yes. We want to follow a VDOT standard. If we don't follow that standard and we come up with a job mix formula and they're still pumping on that road, we're not going to get the life of the road that we're anticipating. It's failed prematurely now. And if we spend all this money and don't get that stabilization that we need, then we're kind of just throwing the money away because it's still going to be pumping. You're still not going to get the life of the road.
Ron, speaking for the Burwell's Glen neighborhood, they certainly want you to follow the standard.
Yeah, we do, Ron, just so you know, with our paving, we even meet the VDOT standard on our paving.
Yeah, I'm not arguing about the standard. My point is when the engineer explained this the other day was the fact that they used to go ahead with the we've got a 6% bid, which is probably the max that they would use in Portland cement. But we're going to have to wait this 30 days and it's going to delay the project that length of time, where the engineer explained that they wouldn't have to delay the project if they didn't have to let all this set up and come back and come to an absolute formula rather than use a high mix of Portland cement right now, for which we have a price, and go forward. But I was just concerned about the delay. That's really my only point for asking the question.
Yes, I'm also concerned about the delay because that's going to put us another 30 days down the road, and it's going to put us closer to the colder season. We might not be able to get the project done this year, depending on what the weather's going to turn out to be. Correct. I'm concerned about that too, but I'm also concerned that we're going to pay for 6% cement when, one, we have a lot of clay in here, and like they explained on the presentations, that when you have clay, you might have to add lime to it. And right now, that doesn't include any lime. We're paying for 6% where we might be able to go down to 5% and have a little savings. This is all unknown. Yes, we could go with the 6%. We don't have a job mix formula. Nobody's going to be held accountable, kind of thing.
I haven't heard from anybody in the neighborhood that they're in a big hurry to get this done because the roads are falling apart.
Okay, so I guess you're just saying there's no rush. I mean, is that
I don't think the neighborhood would, I think the neighborhood would want this to be done, especially given the fact that they now know that it wasn't done right the first time or the last time. They're very concerned that it be done right this time. And if that even necessitated putting the project off until spring, I don't think you'd have any concerns or objections. If that's what it took to be scientifically appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
Susan,
John, I think at this point, the only folks we would actually hear from are the two cul-de-sacs that have been milled. The rest of the roads have not been milled yet. So, but again, as Ed states, we haven't gotten any complaints from any of those. We've made a couple of adjustments to their driveways so that they could get in and out a much smoother transition. But that's kind of where we are with those.
is this the piece of the paving that was the discussion we had about the 72-hour curing period or something like that, and could create a bit of havoc in the neighborhood? Is this connected to that?
Yes.
And then we're still looking at about 72 hours. Susan, Bruce, we're still looking at about 3 days curing?
3 days curing? No, you mean where people can't travel on it?
Yes.
No. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they can almost immediately drive on this FDR. But we are going to come back and surface it as soon as possible, but they can almost immediately, because it's going to be compacted. Yeah, they don't have to stay off that road for 24 hours.
Is there any part of the process for 2020 in this area that we had talked about, all kinds of nightmare scenarios where people can't get out of their driveway if their side of the road was being paved for 3 days and things like that? Is that whole question out the window now, or is that still a concern?
John, that was originally talked about. You are correct, but I think since that time in the meetings with the contractors and the engineers, Susan's clarified that that's not the case any longer.
Well, that's great news.
Well, I wouldn't be too quick. There's 2 contracts out there. We haven't selected a contract, and one of them's got more delay than the other one, but there is some delay built in.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments from the board? All right, need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Ayes, carry. All right, let's move to item H. Contract with Reynolds Tennis Court Construction for the resurfacing and transformation of the Mounts Bay tennis courts into pickleball courts in the amount of $31,250. These were originally on our January agenda, and we're going to be considered as part of, we're going to let the master plan roll on a little further, but things, because of COVID and other reasons, it got a little delayed. So Bruce, you want to give us some kind of an update since we have new members on the board?
So, I'm sorry, John, say that again. I'm trying to get.
You want to tee this one up, basically?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got it. Yeah, this goes back actually to last year, to November of last year. We had a conversation about converting the tennis courts over Mounts Bay into 6 pickleball courts. And the decision at that time was to delay it and combine it with the strategic plan. And of course, we had no idea this COVID thing was there, and we really thought we would be done the strategic plan by now, but it's carried on into September and it's still going on. And we wanted to go ahead and bring this proposal back up. My understanding, it does fit in with the vision, I guess. I'll let you clarify that, John, but the Buildings and Grounds is requesting that we go ahead and move forward with that project in 2020, and it is budgeted for as well.
Yeah, just to respond to your comment there, Bruce. I went and looked at the survey comments that came back from the community, and under the summary of key findings, it makes the point, and I'm reading verbatim, KCSA areas of opportunity revolve around the services residents find most important in the community, socialization, and promote physical activity. Another place in the key findings was when asked when additional features and what additional features they would like to see in the community, it became clear that residents are seeking social interaction and physical activity, and pickleball delivers on both of those. Those are direct quotes out of the survey results. Also, if you look, I looked a little deeper. 8 out of 10 of the most important features and activities that were identified by the survey takers related to outdoor activities. So certainly it is totally supportive of the master plan. Also, a couple of other data points, just so you know, there are no regulation pickleball courts anywhere in Kings Mill. South Hall has pickleball striping, but it uses the tennis court net, which is at a different height. It also has dual striping, which I can tell you as a pickleball player is very confusing.
Yeah.
We've got we have 7 within KCSA, 7 regulation tennis courts. We've got the 2 at Mounts Bay, the 3 at South Hall, and then the 2 that are, they're not KCSAs, but they are Winster Faxes, 2 over there. And we have, don't forget, 13 at the resort. So there's plenty of tennis resources available. Would everyone to support this proposal. There's also a big community of pickleball players who are really anxious to get this project going. We also have the Men's Club behind this as well.
Yeah. Can I motion that we approve the contract with Reynolds Tennis Court at this point?
Sure, go ahead.
I'd like to motion that we approve the Reynolds Tennis Court proposal as it stated.
Need a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions from anybody?
Abigail Spam.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes carry. Thank you all very much. Then we move on to item 8I, contract with tennis supplies. This is for replacing the green windscreens for both Mounts Bay and South Hall. And it doesn't really matter if it's pickleball or tennis you're playing, you need these windscreens anyway, so that it would make doesn't make any difference if we're moving to pickleball on Mounts Bay. Bruce, anything else, anything you want to add to this?
No, it's pretty straightforward as well, with kind of leads into the earlier motion just a few minutes ago by Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to, if it's okay, to motion that we approve the Mid-Atlantic bid as well for the tennis courts.
All right, very good. Any further discussion?
Second.
I need a second. Thank you. Any further discussion on this? All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? No?
Quick question, John, for Bruce. Will both the pickleball court and the windscreens, will that be implemented pretty quickly?
We're got at least I think it's either a 2 to 4 week window on the pickleball courts. Weather permitting, they will get done this year. The windscreen, we can just place the order. It's just a matter of getting those in.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good question, Ed. Thanks.
Okay, let's move on to item 9, President's Report. Just a few brief comments on this. We are at the time of the year where the deer management program is pretty active. And one thing I didn't realize is that it's been around in some form since Kings Mill's original development days. So it goes back a long way. And what back then was a relatively easy process, because there was a lot of undeveloped land, has obviously become a lot more challenging these days as the population within the gates have grown, and the housing density is certainly very different now than it was back then. And that means that the culling areas within the residential side of things is fairly significantly reduced. Just to give you just a quick overview, the deer management program really has 2 components. One is a firearms component, and the other is an archery component. The firearms component occurs during a designated period and is really limited to the larger secluded tracts within Kings Mill. This would be areas like along the country road and things like that. And it's really not used in the dense residential areas. And the residents are notified of these firearms dates through an email, and everybody recalls the sign that you see out by the gates that's when the firearm component is in play. The archery component occurs throughout Virginia's designated archery seasons, which is fairly long. I think it's several months, like 5 months long or something. And hunting during this time occurs on property owned by both those secluded, large secluded tracts that I mentioned a moment ago with the firearms, but it also occurs on property owned by Kings Mill homeowners who give permission for the deer management participants to cull the deer from their property. And a lot of that is property that's adjacent to a ravine or a gully or something like that, something that you would expect there to be a deer population in, not on somebody's manicured front yard. So 3 kind of disconnected points I just want everybody to understand that I found interesting as I dug into this. Point number 1 is the deer that are culled under the deer management program, they can be kept by the hunters to feed their families, but we create a significant amount of meat each year that is donated to Hunters for the Hungry, which helps supply local food banks. So we give a great deal of meat each year to Hunters for the Hungry, and like I said, it makes it into the food bank. So the deer are not wasted by any means. Point number 2, I understand that several years back we discontinued the deer management program for 2 years, and during that time, significant occurred from both landscape damage and deer that were involved in vehicular accidents. And as a result, individual residents as well as Kingsmill committee members lobbied the board to bring back the program, because just in that 2-year period, the deer population surged. And point number 3, I think is important for people to understand, is since the inception of the deer management program, I can't find any example where there's ever been damage or injury to a homeowner, a resident, a pet, a hunter, or to property either owned by individuals or KCSA or the resort. So it's got an accident-free record as best we can tell. Now the plan is I was thinking that maybe, and we'll talk this up among the board members and see if they agree, but maybe October in the board meeting, or maybe in a dedicated town hall, bring together the key players in the deer management program and have them kind of explain the details to the community. We're also about to launch a new section on our website on deer management, where we've got a Q&A that we're going to put up there that should answer a lot of questions. And hopefully just overall just improve communications and maybe that will reduce any concerns that some homeowners may have. Finally, I want to emphasize that the board is very supportive of our deer management program efforts and really understands that, you know, well-meaning individuals can come at this with completely different points of view, but virtually everybody loves a deer, but it's not about that. In the end, our objective is to oversee a program that really strikes a meaningful balance between maintaining a healthy deer herd and protecting a homeowner's urban landscape. I think I can certainly relate to that. So if I can find my slide, Bruce, if you have a copy of that slide with the resolution, I'd like to propose that the board pass this resolution in support of the folks behind our deer management program. Unfortunately, my slide, that's part of my tech problem. My slides don't seem to be working. So do you have that?
No, I don't have it either, John.
All right.
That was sent out to the entire board earlier this morning.
It was sent out. I was just going to read it, but I'm having problems, as you can see. Does anybody
John, do you want me to read?
Sorry?
Yes, I have a copy. Do you want me to read it for you?
Yeah, would you read it, please?
Yes, sir. Be it resolved that the Kingsmill Community Services Association Board of Directors hereby expresses their full support for our long-standing deer management program. The board also thanks Chief Jim West and Program Manager Michael Grogan and his team of trained hunters for their sustained efforts in safely managing the Kingsmill deer herd.
All right, thank you, Michael. I'd like to make a motion that we approve that resolution. So I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion or further questions from the board? All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the resolution carries. We'll make sure we get a copy of that to the folks involved in the program. Looks like we are at the.
John, can I please let me just make one minor clarification. Just to make, I don't know who's on here listening, but in case people from the community are concerned and they jump on a certain term, you use the term firearm, which could be a rifle or a pistol. And just to clarify, during the 3 days that our hunters go out under that auspices, they specifically only use shotguns.
That's correct. Yeah.
And part of the reason that they only use shotguns is they get close to the deer, but if they were to miss, the spray does not go very far.
Yeah, the firearms component is strictly shotguns. That's my understanding as well. Okay, that gets us through our agenda. Any other questions from anyone on the board?
I don't have a question, but I need to read a statement. If you don't mind, it'll just take a minute. And this is a statement for the board of directors and the community. As a newly elected board of directors member of the Kingsmill Community Services Association, I may participate in board discussions that involve aspects of the law. My discussions regarding the law may pertain to comments and references about the law that provide background, examples, or materials intended to be helpful to other board members in the community. While I am an attorney licensed to practice law in the Commonwealth of Virginia, at no time shall any of my comments during KCSA board meetings be construed as providing legal advice or engaging in the practice of law. The KCSA board has retained outside counsel to provide legal services to the board. Any and all legal advice obtained by the KCSA board to help in its deliberations shall come from this outside, independent, and objective counsel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ed. We'll make sure that gets added to the minutes. All right, last chance. Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you, everyone. I apologize for the tech problems, such is life. Not much you can do about it. Just power through it. So I'm sorry about that. Our next board meeting is October 22nd at 3 p.m. We hope to see all of you back then. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.